the law began at school for me, because my headmistress was a JP and she taught law as an O-level, which was very unusual in those times. And she thought that I was ideally matched to be a lawyer and encouraged me massively to pursue that as a career, which is why I went to read law and sociology at university. I was secretary of the Law Society, and our guest speaker at our dinner, the Bracton Law Society dinner, was Lord Denning. And Lord Denning was a completely maverick but very, very approachable human being. And he took a massive interest in my career and encouraged me to be a solicitor, and wrote to me and told me that I didn't think I had a tough enough face to be a barrister, and that I should plumb for being a solicitor, and the legal profession would benefit from me being that. And I think without him pushing and my father pushing, it might never have happened. My job is as a divorce lawyer or family lawyer, which means a non-family lawyer, because we spend most of our time divorcing people rather than putting them together. Children-related work, and an increasing business in prenuptial agreements, which are becoming more and more fashionable. I felt law, other than family law, was incredibly dull. I felt I was ill-equipped, because I think I'm dyslexic, or I know I'm dyslexic, to cope with corporate work, which is where I did my training, and they wanted me to continue afterwards. I did not want to sit with a whole lot of finance directors poring over documents until the early hours of the morning. I didn't see it as being a creative job at all. As a woman, I can't say whether I was discriminated against or because I was a Jew, but I do remember being told when I was up for promotion as a partner that I wasn't going to be made an equity partner because I had 2 small children, and somebody else would be. But wouldn't I prefer to look like me and have 2 children than to be like her without children? It was naked discrimination, but you didn't complain if you were needed to keep a job. Well, the bottom line is you're only as good as your case. So it's your job to present it as best you can. And make the best silk purse out of the worst sow's ear, or make the silk purse look even more beautiful. But bottom line, the courts are there to administer justice. And what I've learned is that of all the people that I've divorced, probably 50% of them have, or more than 50%, have confessed that they've married the wrong people. They've just said, I've knew either just before or when I was getting married or soon afterwards, but I'd done something hideous mistake. And so it's either catch up and mend it, or be very unhappy and they end up with me. It's like having your homework marked in public, particularly if you go to court. So it's like driving a very, very fast car in the fast lane. So if you do something wrong, you're going to do a lot of damage, and it's going to be very public. It isn't helpful for somebody who has an enormous amount of power or celebrity if you tell them what they want to hear. And some of the most difficult moments is telling them what they don't want to hear when they're not used to hearing what they don't want to hear. And I try and remember that it's no point being in awe of the person for what they've achieved outside your room. Obviously respectful, because they've earned respect, but they're there paying for some advice, and that's what you have to deliver. All my proudest moments are nothing to do with my career. They're all to do with my children, my husband, my family, making people happy. It's nothing to do with my career. The career is just, to me, a job. I do it to the best of my ability, but is not how I define myself. To ask how somebody's juggled a family and a job, if anyone says it's easy, they're probably lying. Or what I would say is that you have to be incredibly well organised as to your time. And I found I used to work after children went to bed. I used to put them to bed, take them to school in the morning, and then they went to boarding school, which meant it was much easier during the term time to work longer hours and then devote every weekend to being with them, and bigger chunks of the holidays when they needed me more, because when they're little, it's easier to pay somebody to look after them. And when they were older, I think they definitely need parents around them. They need guidance. They need to be supervised. They need to have. They need parenting. Becoming a peer was a complete mystery to me, as much as it probably is to everybody else. It was to me like winning the lottery without buying the ticket. When I arrived at the House of Lords, it was the first week of the coalition, and my first night there, I was told to bring my toothbrush because I wasn't going to get back until early hours of the morning. I actually slept the night, and the Lords voted at 3 o'clock in the morning. It was quite a big shock, but luckily boarding school had equipped me to having to share a room with quite a lot of female peers in a dormitory. It was all a big wake-up call. It's taken me quite a long time to understand the politics and how the system works and have the confidence to stand up and speak. At the moment, there's some very interesting legislation which I'm helping push through, hopefully. Ruth Deach has got a bill on reforming the divorce laws, which I find fascinating and well overdue and needy. I sit on a select committee of European Justice chaired by Helena Kennedy, which is very interesting and worthwhile, and that takes quite a lot of time in the mornings. And as I'm slowly getting a little bit of confidence, or more confidence, and feeling I can make a contribution, I'm enjoying it much more. What we're trying to do is to get a module to go into schools, or an app, so that people can consider why they're getting married, for example. Do you get married because you want to get out of your school uniform and get a wedding dress? Do you want the white wedding? Do you like the sex? Do you think if you've got somebody who's an alpha male, they're going to be all nice and sweet in the evening the whole time? If they're brilliant at finance, they may be on the autistic radar. There's a flip side to every coin. Have you considered what you'd do if you get married, if you had a child that was not perfect? Would you entertain an abortion? What would you do if your spouse lost their job? And those sort of questions, as to see is a fundamental compatibility, whether you look at things in the same life. Do you believe in family life? Do you believe in divorce? And if I'm, after having spent quite a lot of money sponsoring this research, because it went on for 1.5 years, and I had a Shackleton research student doing it, or together with the whole team from the university, if I stop 2 people getting married who shouldn't, it will be money well spent. And it would do us out of a job.